So, hello everyone, and welcome to our next Code Control webinar, Unleash the Robots, the Future of Automation and Current Market Opportunities, together with our friends at Bots and People. My name is Logan Willett, and I'm a community builder here at Code Control, and I'll be your host and moderator. So before I introduce our guests for today, I'd just like to say a few words about Code Control. So Code Control, we are a future of work company with a community of over 650 top digital freelancers based all across Europe. And our mission is to help professionals to realize fulfilling work. What this means concretely is we help to match great freelancers with great projects from great clients. And we take away the pain points for basically both of those stakeholders. If you want to find out more about us, you can check us out at codecontrol.io. Or feel free to leave a comment in the chat if you'd like to get in touch, and we'll be happy to reach out afterwards. And speaking of which, feel free to add your questions using the Ask a Question feature at the bottom of the screen, and we'll get to them at the Q&A portion after the talk. And so next, I'd like to introduce our two guests, Oliver Nagel and Nico Britzer, who are the co-founders of Bots and People.
Hi, Logan.
Nico and Oliver, over to you.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to share my screen for our presentation, and very warm welcome from our side as well. Okay.
And I'll make that screen for you. There you go.
So everyone can see my screen, correct?
Yes.
Perfect. So yeah, Logan gave already a little introduction. Me and myself, me and Oliver, we are the co-founders of Bots and People, and we are a company that helps people in corporates, but also freelancers and other interested people in upskilling in the field of automation. So we are not a consultancy, but rather an educational company, an edtech company with learning content on the field of automation. And watch out, we have a spoiler for you. Process automation is a very interesting market as well for freelancers and consultants. This is what we experienced in a couple of conversations we had since we founded Bots and People with a lot of companies. The lack of talent is huge, and the entry barriers into the field of automation is not too high. So stay tuned what is coming in that webinar. So this is actually a picture of a tea factory in Sri Lanka. I visited this tea factory in August this year, in March this year, and I was quite impressed by how they automated the production of the tea leaves. So there was a person a host and guide who showed us everything, how the tea factory works. And he also showed us the old-fashioned way on how to produce that tea. And this was a lot of rubbing the tea leaves. It was then lay it on the floor and dry the tea leaves. It seemed a lot of manual work. And then with all the machines he showed us afterwards, it seemed quite easy. And this is what automation is pursued at, I would say, in the mainstream. So we have machines, and this already happened beginning of the 20th century, that we replaced repetitive mechanical work with machines. And what is this? This is a kind of the first computer, or one version of the first computer. It's the machine which was built by Alan Turing. Alan Turing was a mathematical genius who lived during the Second World War. And this machine was the machine which decoded the Nazi code Enigma, and was one of the aspects why the Allies could win the war against the Nazis. And why I'm telling you that is because there is a movie in Netflix right now where the story is explained of Alan Turing. And Alan Turing was working on that machine, doing something, and all the people were calculating or decoding the Nazi code by hand. So they had were calculating it, and he was building that machine, and they were complaining why he's building that stupid huge machine, which won't lead to success. But in the end, all that effort in developing that automation tool in the end was worth it. So here's a picture of Alan Turing. And so right now we have, we proceeded a little bit with that. The computers got developed further, and we are working a lot on screens. We're working with software, a lot of people sitting in offices, but still doing repetitive tasks. So there is in companies people who copy data from Excel files and CRM systems. They download PDF documents and transfer the data from that PDF document somewhere. And so this is all. It's also time to automate this kind of tasks. And what is different this time? Why is it right now so easy to automate the tasks? And what you can see here is the user interface of UiPath. UiPath is one of the most successful vendors in the field of automation. It's a vendor for robotic process automation. And you see that no coding is necessary to automate processes. So you have this simple drag and drop scenario where you can drag in processes and decide on what the program shall do with it. It's quite easy. Not as easy as UiPath is claiming, but it's, of course, not so complicated than writing a code or script. And here you can also see the user interface of Celonis. Celonis is the biggest vendor for process mining. What is process mining? Process mining is basically dragging event logs or sets of data from CRM systems or other IT systems from a company and display processes. And this is also quite easy to work with that data. So there's no mathematical, at least no difficult mathematical formulas needed or coding to find out very cool insights on the process landscape of a company. What is changing through automation? So there is a 40% job increase right now for positions in the field of automation. So everything what has to do with robotic process automation, process mining, and cloud automation. And 14% of the global workforce will be somehow have to do with automation until 2030. And the numbers below, this is quite interesting. So who remembers the company Blockbuster, who did basically similar things than Netflix, but without streaming. So they sent over movies to their clients. They had a revenue in their best times of $6 billion, and they had 85,000 employees. And Netflix right now makes a revenue of $9 billion and has 4,500 employees, which is mind-blowing, at least for me, and shows what you can do with new technologies, with process automation and streamlining, and what a huge revenue you can reach with less people due to that technologies. So to explain what we mean by process automation, this is a landscape. This is a landscape of a company, so the process landscape and the IT landscape. And what you can see is they are using several tools in their company. So there's Office 365 to write documents, to work with Excel, emailing. Then there is a Moodle system where they train their employees. There's Salesforce, which is a customer relation management tool, SAP, and MailChimp, where they manage their newsletter. And those blue people are the employees doing stuff. So what is this? This is the drone and the drone is process mining. So process mining is now able to see all the processes that are going on within in that IT landscape. And it's all data-based, so no one has to draw some Visios by hand. So and it's the real processes that process mining is drawing. And how to automate now this landscape. So the first step is to look into the system. So if you're using Salesforce and you have processes within Salesforce, then it's quite an advantage to automate processes within Salesforce, of course, and to see what potential the tool has and brings with it by nature. Then there's APIs. APIs is backend automations, which are standardized and which can be built or enabled. So there's cloud tools. We will deep dive into it later, like Zapier or Integromat, where you have standard APIs and standard trigger events you can use to automate processes between, for example, Salesforce and Office 365. Let's say every time someone is entered in the CRM system, someone from the company gets an email, which is a very basic example. And this is the robots. And if you can't use an API, you can use a robot. A robot is basically a front-end automation who mimics the tasks of an employee. So the robot starts Excel and copies data into another system, and you can literally watch the robot doing it.
Yeah, thank you, Nico, for this introduction. Now let's take a step-by-step look at the individual technologies that make sense in automation from our perspective. Let's start with process mining. Nico mentioned a little bit about process mining. Process mining is a technology to uncover end-to-end processes. We will see in a moment how this works exactly. In our opinion, process mining is really one of the best ways to improve processes before they are automated. So you can see here a picture of an iceberg, obviously, and in practice, in many cases, I only see those processes or only those process steps on which I am directly involved. But especially with processes that run through many departments of a company, there are process steps that are not visible to me as a user. And these two parts, processes that I see or process steps that I see and process steps I don't see, that are the reality in companies. So what does it look like to make a process visible with process mining? What you can see here is an order to cash analysis, and it's about how quickly the company has the customer's money in their bank account after an order came in. So the main process consists of 4 steps: the receive order, confirm order, generate delivery document, and the last step is cut off in this picture. And I think in this case, you can compare these 4 main processes with the tip of the iceberg we saw before. The lower part of the iceberg are the branches left of the main process. For example, for some customers, a credit check is required. And this delays the process by 5 days. The order is confirmed, but the delivery service has problems, so the confirmed delivery date must be moved. This again delays the process by a few days. So you see there are many branches left and right of the main process, which sometimes make the process unnecessarily complicated. With process mining, you can uncover such processes and streamline them before they are automated. The big question for you guys is, what could be the task of a freelancer in this case? The freelancer could, for example, make a tool selection because there are a few process mining vendors out there. Nico mentioned, for example, one of the biggest, Celonis. And you can also help to implement the process mining tool in the company, or making proposals for streamlining processes are also possible before getting automated. So let's move on to cloud automation. The next technology, as I said, is cloud automation. And in this area of automation, processes are triggered, as Nico also mentioned, by APIs. And the API owner defines, in this case, the routes into a system. And the API user only needs to know the routes into the system, but he doesn't need to know, but he doesn't need to have the knowledge of the backend technologies are used in the API owner system. That's the huge advantage of APIs. To mention also some tools that are used or used with APIs to connect to tools or more tools are Zapier or Integromat. And that are the most used tools to connect two or more API interfaces. I also want to give you an example of cloud automation, how it could look like. So we can move on to the next slide. Yes. For example, in this case, a company wants to start a survey with Typeform and uses Typeform for this. And the target group has different choices in this Typeform. Depending on which selection the target group has made, individual emails should be sent. So the company uses MailChimp for their email marketing, and MailChimp and Typeform both have API interfaces. What does it mean? They can now communicate with these API interfaces. This means that when a form is filled out, the answers are sent to MailChimp, and MailChimp then automatically assigns the answer to an audience based on the selection which was made. So your job as a freelancer or as a cloud automation freelancer can be the design of the automation workflow and to set the connection to several APIs. Our next technology is RPA. RPA means robotic process automation, and RPA are software robots that are especially designed for interface automation in the UI area. In UI automation, for example, an actual click is simulated on the screen, or data is read from a PDF document and copied to another system. I would like to explain the topic of RPA using example. So you can imagine if we have lost our bank card, what are we doing? We must block it, for sure. And for us, this is a call or a message, and the card is blocked. But what did the bank employee had to do a few years ago after our call? He had to cancel the card. He had to generate a new PIN number for us. He had to order a new card, and this card had to be sent out together with the new PIN number. So this took the bank employee about 20 minutes to do this. Today, the bank employee clicks on a button after our call, and all steps I just listed are taken over by a robot. The bank employee has now the possibility to immediately take the next call and continue working. And in this case, the bank would have hired an RPA freelancer to automate such processes. Depending on how well the processes are documented, such an order is implemented, or such a process is implemented in, I think, 4 to 8 weeks, which is, in my opinion, quite fast for the impact that the automation has for the bank. Maybe we can switch to the video. I would like to show you a short video of how an RPA bot works in a real case. And the use case here was to pull the number of participants for training from a learning management system and download and save all invoices related to this training from a central email address. Then the invoices amounts are read from the attachments and copied into an Excel spreadsheet together with the number of participants. The price per participant for the course is then calculated in the Excel spreadsheet, and this is a typical use case from the HR area. So let's have a short look at this video, and all the actions you can see in this video are taken by a robot. And I actually had to slow down the video because at normal speed it would be much faster. So let's have a little look. So the robot logs in the learning management system, copies out the number of participants. And now the PDF documents are downloaded from the central email address and saved to a folder on Windows. After that, the data were pasted in the Excel document, and you get the price per person. So every step is made by the robot. And I wanted just to show you a real world case, which is taken by a robot.
Yeah, and maybe to add here a point, we have also a podcast, and there we talk to companies and to people that automate processes in companies. And it's so interesting. We've been talking to Wacker, for example, this week, and they tell us there's people in departments automating their processes, and they are so impressed by what is possible. So they don't have the mindset of, oh no, the robots like craving for my job. It's rather, it's great that those robots support us, and we can focus on things that really matter again. And also the Ergo insurance. I saw a post this week on LinkedIn where they said basically 46 robots are now implemented in Ergo. So the companies are right now just getting the idea of what is possible. And just a few companies are in this scaling phase, have a lot of robots, but most of the companies are now discovering it, which makes the market potential huge, and the increase of the market potential huge, for RPA especially.
Yes. And now we would it would be good to have a look. What is the benefit of freelancing in automation? From our experience, daily rates between 700 euro and 850 euros are possible. And the nice thing is that the barriers to market entry are very low at the moment, because it is easy to learn how to use these technologies compared, for example, to a deep dive technical understanding you need for programming languages like Python. And we are also currently seeing a shortage of skilled workers and freelancers. This means that the demand is higher than the current supply, and the automation market in general has been growing strongly for years. So the RPA market especially is a young market with a lot of potential.
Yeah, so we met a lot of people that told us, I'm I have plenty of experience in RPA or automation. I do it now for 2 years. So this is really a crazy market. So how good are the the chances to get hired in Germany for an automation job? And we made a little analysis. we have to admit it's not a bulletproof research, but it's based on LinkedIn job vacancies. So we entered automation engineer, strategist, and we found that there's 12,000 open vacancies for the field of automation. There's 400 for RPA right now, 350 plus for process mining, and 1,500 for cloud. And those you can see below, like KPMG, Deloitte, Deutsche Bahn, are searching for specialists in that field, which is, of course, always a good sign as well for freelancers to drop into the market. And I also have a comparison for if you type in data science in LinkedIn, you find around 4,000 people, and this is a quite mature market in comparison to automation. So imagine how this will look in several months or few years. Okay, so now we prepared some profiles for you. So we were thinking about what can be roles, or what do we see, which roles are right now possible for freelancers or for employees to enter this automation market. So there is kind of a generalist, which we call the automation strategist. It's like a communicator, quite familiar with all the automation tools, but not necessarily knows those tools, can't program maybe with those tools, or can't work, but coordinate developers and have the market overview. So this person has to be curious about how things work. So this is very interesting. We were talking with a professor from University of Vienna for business process management, and he said what he says is fascinating about processes is the question, how does this work? So if you like Oliver's example, if you need to get a new bank card, how does it work? And this is a question this automation strategist should love to ask. He or she should also be interested in building an efficient business and have great communication skills to coordinate all people in the field of automation. The task is to initiate automation project, calculate business cases, because of course it's really important for companies to also see the return on invest on such an automation project, managing stakeholders, starting change management initiatives. This can be done by automation strategists. Just one example why we need this strategist to overview the market of all technologies. We've been also talking to companies that buy licenses for robotic process automation, for example, and they need to use those licenses. And that is why they build robots for processes or tasks that could have been solved by API, which is way easier than using a robot, because a robot, as soon as the user interface changes, there has to be only an update in your browser, and then the robot will have to be maintained. Yeah. And the duration of such a project will be minimum 6 months, because you need to have the long-term view on the process automation strategy. And you can find those people in bigger corporates with 10,000 employees plus, maybe also sometimes smaller. But our experience is that this is for more bigger companies. Then there is an RPA developer. So this person is able to build robots. This person, like a software developer. So the software developer is a very good basis to get into the field of RPA developer. I want to emphasize again that you don't need coding knowledge if you work as an RPA developer, but you need basic understanding of logics and variables. And this should be a person who wants to build something. So also with this colleague from Wacker Chemie, we were talking, and he said he's an RPA developer, and he said it's so cool if you build a robot and you see this robot helping a colleague in another department. The task is work with the low-code tool, create process documentations, so also talk to clients and get the process documentation done and free them up from repetitive tasks. And the duration of those projects can be quite short. It can be just a few weeks. Our experience is that it ranges from 1 to 6 months. And of course, if you're a very good RPA developer freelancing, then it should be also possible to work long-term for the same clients and automate processes there. Yeah. Then there's a cloud automation engineer, and we call it the entrepreneurial because cloud tools by nature are more important. I wouldn't say more important, but there is more cloud focus in rather smaller businesses or startups. A startup wouldn't implement from the beginning a on-premise ERP system like SAP. They would use tools like Salesforce or HubSpot. And with those tools, it's a very good opportunity to work with APIs. And who's interested in do marketing automations, newsletter automations. These are very cool use cases right now for cloud automation, but we also see the potential for cloud automation to go more into the bigger corporates. Then there's the process mining architect, which we call the explorer, working with tools like Celonis or Signavio, and they should love to explore things data-based. So they drag the data out of a system, and then they get insights on what to do better in the company, how to change the processes. And this I see a typo. It should mean ideally long-term, of course not short-term, and 6 months or longer, because also here process mining is not just a snapshot of the whole situation, but you need to have an eye on the processes for longer term, and then you can work on the insights, and you can then from that basis you can automate processes, for example with RPA or cloud automation. Or sometimes maybe a company is doing a process which isn't necessary at all anymore. Then of course you don't need to automate it.
Yeah, and now I would like to give you some very concrete suggestions on how you can go on about becoming a freelancer in the field of automation. It is important that you start your training and ideally be certified, either directly from a platform vendor or from an external source like Bots and People. And I think that the training takes up to 60 days, depending on the intensity you choose. And after that, you should update your job profile on LinkedIn, because many people are looking for suitable freelancers on platforms like LinkedIn or Xing. And I think it's realistic that you can go from no knowledge in automation to the first offer in around 90 days. So feel free to contact us. We are pretty well connected in the automation area and can possibly find jobs or projects for you. And we will also launch our job board soon. Here we will also take up offers for freelancers. Yeah.
Okay, so here's again a summary on what we are doing at Bots and People. We offer learning pathways and certificates in the field of process automation. So all the technologies you saw right now, we have training material regarding it. We are quite eager now to launch our first automation strategist learning pathway, which is a 10 weeks program. We have upskilling programs for whole companies. So we work with corporates together to see which kind of people are willing to step into the field of automation, because especially insurance companies or banks have a lot of people that had tasks before that aren't needed anymore in the future as much as they are needed right now. And for those people, it can be quite interesting to step into the field of process automation. And we also have online courses. We have a little game-based learning. We have a basic course on robotic process automation, and there's more to come. And we also have a developer pool in Hungary, where we train also employees and work with them on use cases with companies together. This is our training path for the automation strategist, which starts with the mindset, then basically all the technologies you saw before. There's also the opportunity to master the certificates of UiPath and Celonis, because beside our certification, of course, it's always good to know one software tool, at least for this technology, quite well. And from that basis, you have the ideal position to step deeper into, for example, RPA development, and do some enhanced courses also on the UiPath platform, for example, or Automation Anywhere. We have also some rather soft skill modules, like how to recognize automation potential and project management. And what is important about our learning is that it's live sessions. So during that 10 weeks, there's 2 live sessions per week with experts from the business. So Oliver and me are not doing the training ourselves. The main, like for the most of the weeks, we have people from Deloitte, from Siemens, from Definity, which is a consultancy on robotic process automation, who have a lot of experience as well in and bring use cases from the business to show it to our participants. Okay, then I want to remind you, that's why I copied in this mic on the poll question. So if you haven't voted yet, then feel free to do it right now. And of course, we have a little surprise for you. If you are in that webinar right now, you have the chance to get a discount on our learning pathway. So feel free to copy it, visit our website, and book the automation strategist and leave the code. And we will also send an information after the webinar for you that you can easily access a link.
Fantastic. Great. Well, Oliver and Nico, thank you so much for this awesome presentation. A lot of very insightful information. So I'd just like to remind everyone that we have the Ask a Question feature now at the bottom. So feel free to ask any questions that you might have, and I'll help to moderate and have our 2 guests answer them now. So first question, actually, this is one that I put up because I was curious. What percentage of available jobs are remote versus on-site, and full-time versus part-time? So for example, is this something that would be this kind of like career path, for example, would that be something that's useful for someone that's working remotely?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it depends on the role. If you are an RPA developer, for example, it's more likely to work remote instead of an automation strategist, because I think an automation strategist have to be really close to the single departments in a company and do much communication with the employees. So I think it depends on the role. Yeah.
Great. Next question. What tool do you use for process mining? I guess maybe he's asking what tools are available for process mining?
Yeah, for process mining, the biggest vendor is Celonis. And there are also some other tools like Signavio or Lana process mining. Yeah, that are some other vendors you can use. Yeah.
Great. What courses or certifications would you recommend and where to find them? I think this is probably an easy answer.
Yeah. You find them on our homepage for sure, but there are also you can look at the platform vendors, for example. They also have some sort of academy. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, and also if you're interested, we can also you can contact us and we can have a call, or we can talk about what is suitable for you right now, because we have this automation strategist learning path right now, and those e-learnings. But of course, if you want to dig deeper right now, then it's we have also a very good overview of on which platforms you can educate yourself further. And we are expanding our offer, of course, continuously.
Yeah.
Great. So a question from Angelo. If the field is so new and so very few people have 5 years experience, isn't it a bit early to start talking about certification? Would a customer even be interested in or able to judge the value of a certificate in such a young field? Interesting question.
It's a very good question. We had some interesting talks about that as well. So with an RPA lead at OLX, and he told us that, for example, at UiPath, there is now one certification, which is a valuable certification. And he said, and with that certification, you have to solve a quite complex RPA case in a certain amount of time. So it's quite stressful to get this certification. And because of marketing reasons, and these companies are growing so fast right now, there's a lot of diplomas, and you get for free this check mark and this thing you can post on LinkedIn. And companies are getting confused on what is a valuable certification right now. And this is also something we see as our mission to build a standard for automation, right? So because we think it's very important for companies to distinguish between someone who has really the skills and is able to work with the tools and is able to get the automation potential in a company, and someone who just did the UiPath diploma, which takes you 1 day and you can do it several times until you can post it on LinkedIn. That's that would be my opinion on that.
Mm-hmm. Great. And finally, a question from David. Do you accept guests on your podcast? I got plenty of automation hacks to share.
Yeah, sure. We always had guests in every hour of our podcasts. For sure, reach out to us. We are always open for that.
Yeah. Great. Yeah. Fantastic. So any maybe last minute questions from our participants in there? We've still got some time. Aha. So from Thomas, did you already speak to DIN to create a new standard?
Not for now, but that's a very good topic. Yeah, to be a DIN standard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Great. And another question from David. Do you have any good advice for using Airtable?
We noticed that company. We looked at that company, but I have to say I didn't have worked with the tool Airtable, but I heard that it should be really good.
Yeah. We have a good friend on We Make Future. His name is Sebastian. And he swears on on Airtable. He's automating everything with just Integromat and Airtable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know David, for example, is doing a lot of really cool stuff with Airtable, so I'm sure he'd love to share his learnings as well.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, let's catch up. Nice. Definitely.
Yeah.
Cool. Great. Well, I think maybe we can kind of end it there. Do you have any last message you want to share with the participants before we close off?
Robo set go. I would say it's such an interesting field, and it sounds sometimes like processes sounds a little bit boring, but actually, if you ask those questions, how do things work, then it's very interesting topic, and this automation is the future. So we encourage you to join our course, to join the field of automation and automate things.
Great, fantastic. Well, Nico, Oliver, thank you both so much for joining us today and for sharing all your insights. And thank you for all of our participants as well. Just a reminder that, of course, you can replay the broadcast almost immediately after it ends. And hopefully we'll have some future automation engineers among you.
Yeah, hopefully.
Cool. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.